and welcome to my channel. My name is Victoria and I am a Christian, feminist, and queer woman interested in talking about having faith in the modern world. In today's video, I want to talk a little bit about Bill C-8 and a conversation I had with some very conservative people from my former church, and following that, what I believe is the dangerous marriage between politics and religion in North America. Let's get into it. So I used to go to a church that I actually grew up in. I used to attend a non-affirming community that is, in my view now, very conservative, and so a lot of the congregants that it attracts are very conservative. That's the first context. The second context is the Canadian Bill C-8, which is basically making all types of conversion therapy illegal in Canada. I'm Canadian, if you didn't know, and so yes. That is the relevance of that bill. So this is some new legislation that is being put forward that essentially makes it illegal to force anyone into therapy or treatment with the sole intent of either getting rid of homosexual feelings or feelings of essentially gender expression difference. So essentially the bill makes conversion therapy illegal for children and minors, or for anyone being forced into it. So technically if you're an adult and you choose to, you can still seek conversion therapy treatment, but you cannot be forced into it and you cannot be placed into it if you are a child. As I said, it defines conversion therapy as any treatment or therapy explicitly designed to remove homosexual feelings or feelings of gender. I forget the word that they use. Essentially feelings like your gender expression does not match your biology. So a few weeks ago, I received an email from some people in my church, my old church, regarding this bill because I used to be part of their home group, so I'm still on the email list, and I wanted to talk about what they said because I feel like it is very indicative of a worldview that I find problematic, which is the marriage between politics and religion. So this is their email. I'm gonna read it out. I will obviously not be naming them, but this is what they said. Hi, prayer warriors. Satan and his minions are slimy snakes. They have influenced the liberal anti-Christians to slip Bill C-8 under the radar while blockades and the COVID-19 pandemic dominate the news. Now there will be a maximum 5-year jail term for a parent who seeks therapy to help their 14-year-old overcome unwanted same-sex attraction and transition back to his biological gender. Please pray for Justin Trudeau and the Liberals to be saved or removed from office and against the demonic strongman behind this outrage. As a queer affirming Christian, I obviously have issues with this email. First of all, because I don't see Bill C-8 as a bad thing. As you can see from this email I received, their main concern is that parents that are trying to help their kids will be jailed just for trying to help them accept their biological sex. I think that this is a twisting of the law, which you see often with conservatives who use a rhetoric of fear to try to inspire people to support their cause. This bill in no way, in my understanding, makes it illegal for someone to help their child accept their biological sex. What it does is protect against therapies where that is the sole aim, where damage might be done by forcing a transgender person back into their biological sex. If a child undergoes therapy where they're simply allowed to express themselves and try to figure it out, they're allowed to choose their biological sex. There's nothing wrong with that, and that is normal and natural and happens probably just as often as they decide they really are transgender. What the bill is trying to prevent is the forced acceptance of biological sex or forced repression of homosexual desire. Again, someone can explore their sexuality and their gender and ultimately decide that they might be straight or that they might not be trans, but the point is they have the space to explore it. So that's kind of like the micro debate. I think the macro debate is really about state versus parent control. I think what these conservatives are afraid of is that the state wants more control over moral upbringing than the family, and they feel it is the family desire to instill moral values, especially when the state is not explicitly religious in any way. They think that this bill is an overstepping of rights and basically giving the state the right to raise children in a way that might be against the parents' wishes. I definitely can see see why they might feel that way. But I would say, again, they're simply doing it out of protection because the queer community has been so stifled and because it is often difficult for parents, especially of a religious background, to understand what the kid is going through. Again, the bill does not make it illegal to say that homosexuality is wrong. It's not illegal to say that you should accept your biological sex. All it does is prevent children from being forcibly put into a therapy with the aim of making them straight and cis. They can ultimately decide that they are, but the bill is designed to give people space to explore when they might not be in a family unit that would allow that. The final thing I want to comment on about this email, and sort of the main point of this video, is that you can really see this sort of marriage between politics and religion. Personally, I think that every political party is not a Christian party. Politics and democracy are methods of government designed by humans, and so therefore have no theological foundation as God's party. I think that it's extremely dangerous to claim that any party is God's party, and I don't think that God is particularly on the side of any political party. I think that this marriage between politics and religion is why North America in particular is so divided between left and right, because people on both sides claim the moral high ground, when actually I think that both sides have valid concerns. So I want to read you my response to their email, because I feel like it's more articulate than my blabbing now. But essentially, I wrote them back asking to be removed from the email list and kind of explained why. Beyond just our theological differences, my main issue was the literal demonization of liberals. The claim that liberals are somehow on the side of Satan or are demonically inspired, I think is ludicrous, and I think that, like I said, no political party can claim theological superiority. The political spectrum has good and bad on both sides, and I think that is why we need to engage in dialogue rather than pushing the opposing side away and saying that they are somehow demonic or not of God. I think that every side is both of God and not of God. It is simply a human construct to do our best in a complicated world, and we need to recognize that people on every side are voting the way they do and believing the way they do because, for the most part, we are all trying to make the world better. Like, I think it's really important to remember that people are not voting the way they do most of the time because of selfish reasons. It's often because they feel like that is the most moral approach to society. If we can recognize that most of us have this shared foundation, I think it will go a long way in inspiring dialogue and shutting down this polarization. So with that said, this was my response. If you can, I ask that you would please remove me from this mailing list. I respect your heart for the Lord and your desire to see his kingdom here and now, but I am deeply uncomfortable with the way you have married religion and politics. As someone who votes liberal, I find your literal demonization of those with opposing views to you to be hurtful and dismissive of the fact that many seeking God may land in a very different place to you. I appreciate your passion for what you believe is right, but I ask you to please respect that others who love God may have differing views to you, and recognize that your legalistic conservative may be isolating to others in the community and only create division. I say that because they send this to a widespread mailing list, which includes many people who do land on the left side of the political spectrum. Beyond myself, who left that community, I mean people still within that community. I personally believe the gospel is beyond any political party, for politics are but the invention of humankind in all its fallenness, and so I am in favor of healthy conversation regarding this topic. However, I think that if you say those who disagree are aligned with Satan, it makes that space impossible. Thank you for hearing me out. I sent that to them, fully expecting them to not respond, as I know other people have responded to them and never received anything back. But I did receive a response, and the man that wrote the initial email actually changed some of the phraseology to reflect a more nuanced space, or so he thought. He basically removed the line that said the anti-Christian liberals to make space for the idea that some liberals may be Christian, but obviously he left in all the things about Bill C-8 being of the devil, etc., which, you know, I respect the fact that he was willing to change on the political front, but obviously we have deeply diverging theological foundations for queerness, so we're never going to agree on that front. But I respected the fact that he was willing to make a small change to be more inclusive. So from that, we agreed to meet sometime in May once I have graduated and moved. I'm moving, hence this, and have things sort of settled down. Also, I don't know if that'll happen because of COVID now. But essentially, I wanted to make this video to talk a little bit about what I see are the dangers of this sort of moralization of politics, the divide in Canada and the US, and also use it as an example of how we can generate respectful dialogue. You know, I wrote back to him fully expecting him to ignore me or to just be like, you're wrong, but he was willing to make a small concession and to meet up to discuss. And since then, he's actually been sending me further emails about various political things I might be interested in, Mind you, they're all the same, like, conservative chain letter scare tactic type things, but I appreciate that he's making the effort to engage with me in a respectful way and say, hey, but have you thought about this? And you know what, I have thought about that, and it gives me a chance to share my view, and so I really do hope that we end up meeting up. I doubt either of our minds will be changed, but I think it is an important step for especially Christians to stop demonizing the opposing side. The Spirit of God is a spirit of unity, and we really do need to be engaging. Even with people we think are deeply problematic, you know, we are all claiming to follow Christ, and so part of that means living with each other, talking to each other, engaging in difficult conversations. And it's difficult. Like, as a queer woman, it's very hard to meet with people and have them say, I think that something that is so intrinsic to you and to your feeling connected to God and other people is inherently sinful. Like, that really hurts to hear. But I think you will never change someone's mind by demonizing them, because everyone believes that they are right. So if you start saying you're following Satan or you're a devil worshiper because of your beliefs when you believe that you're seeking God, like, they're not gonna hear you, right? So I think the first step towards healing and towards understanding is to come together and stop moralizing things that are just mere human convention and opinion, and recognize that we're all coming from a similar place of trying to make the world better. So that is all I have for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you will stick around and leave a comment below with your thoughts on this topic. And yeah, I will see you next time. Bye.